Hey, how's it going, guys? Oh my god, I am so excited. This video finally released. They're showing us all the Abilonian weapons. Oh, look at that title. It is beautiful, but let's get into it. I have not seen this video yet, so this is my first time watching it. I'm so excited.
Hello and welcome to another Albion Online Dev Talk. Today I'm excited to talk to you about the new upcoming Abilonian weapons. So this is gonna be a major combat extension. The biggest one we had since the introduction.
I hope they go over all of them.
Weapons. And we have 15 new weapons, each with a new cool ability and new mechanics, and 3 new offense on top of that.
Nice.
So there is one new weapon per weapon tree. That means one new mace, one new spear, and so on. And also we have one offense
Didn't mention
per
daggers.
weapon branch. So
Ooh!
100.
Oh yeah, I'm just gonna let it play. Oh, okay, this is like the taproot. This looks like a taproot. Obviously, it's a crossbow.
One mage offhand and one warrior offhand.
Okay, and then this is obviously the shield, and then this would be the torch, right?
All of these new items are available from tier 4 onwards up to tier 8. And each of these items has a unique look and a unique model. And this means there's 19 new awesome looking models in the game coming. And let's directly dive into some of the abilities of these new items. The first one I want to talk about is the Lucent Hawk. This is the Abilonian bow. Upon activation, you go in this turret style mode where you can become a sniper that can keep shooting skilled shots as long as the buff is active.
Yo, that's so cool.
And the cool thing is you can aim each shot individually. They each have its own cast, and it's a long range, high damaging skill shot. And it's really nice to snipe enemies from the back row. But if you overcommit and go too deep into the enemy lines, they can easily interrupt you, and then you waste all your ammunition. And there's a nice risk versus reward in the skill involved.
So that reminds me, of course, of like a Jhin ult from League of Legends. I don't know if that guy was just like 0 spec, but he was doing like no damage. I don't know if you guys saw that. He was doing like actual 0 damage.
And the cool thing is you can aim.
Look at that.
Each
He's doing like a quarter of a bar per E. And yeah, I guess you get multiple shots and it could hit multiple people. But I don't know. It doesn't seem too strong. Maybe that's why they're nerfing Ray of Light. Because they think that the Abilonian weapon is going to be really strong with Ray of Light. So that's why they're nerfing Ray of Light as opposed to Frost
enemies
Shot.
From the back row. But if you overcommit and go
I don't know.
deep
So
into
far,
line,
it seems like
they can easily interrupt you.
4 out of
waste
10.
All your ammunition.
It seems fun though. It does seem fun.
There's a nice
strength
risk
bell.
versus reward in the skill involved.
Having to stand still and channel something
Then
usually not the
we
best
also
for a
have
bow.
a new Abilonian sword. It's a big two-hander called the Kingmaker. And its ability allows you to swing the blade around you in a circle, knocking up all the enemies into the air. And while these enemies are still in the air, you're then slamming your weapon down in a vertical line, hitting behind you and in front of you.
That's sick.
So not only is this an AoE interrupt, but it is a high damaging ability at the end. Where
I want to see something. I want to see if you lose your stacks.
Slamming your weapon down in a vertical line.
So you do. So it's another. So you know the sword mechanic is however many stacks you have is how much damage you do. So this is another one that's going to be like that. As soon as he used it, he dropped stacks. This thing seems really cool. It's like an AoE and a single target smack. Well, it's more of like a line smack, right? Yeah, I really like this ability. It looks awesome.
While these enemies are still in the air, you then
you knock them up and then smack
in a vertical
them.
line, hitting behind you and in front of you.
It's pretty cool. I like this one so far.
Not only is this an AoE,
hopefully it's strong,
but it is a high damage.
Because I think this one it will be
at
used.
the end, where it's really
8 out of
mattering
10.
where
8
you
out of 10.
Position yourselves and how you rotate yourself to make really the most out of it and hit multiple targets at once. Next, we have the Abilonian Curse Staff. It has the ability called Inner Shadow. You can cast it on any player, ally or enemy, and you summon a shadow of that player depending on the type of armor that player wears. So how does it work? So say you cast it on an enemy with a cloth armor, you then summon this Abilonian mage who attacks with this huge thunderstorm, dealing massive magic damage. And you can also instead cast it on a leather armor user.
Okay.
If you do that, then you summon a different
archer.
shadow, which does a lifesteal aura, attacking enemies and also healing up the caster himself.
Okay.
Or you simply can cast it on a plate wearer. And if you cast on someone with plate armor, you summon this tank shadow who slows enemies around him, and after a short delay, slams down his big weapon and nullifies most of the enemy's armor. It's a huge armor shred on that ability. And the cool part is, the shadow you summon depends on the target you pick on, not on the armor you have equipped. So the cool part about this is that even if you wear cloth armor, you have access to all of the shadows in one fight.
That's interesting. I'm thinking, like, the first thing that came to mind is, like, for twos, like, maybe you can use, like, some sort of stun combo. So one guy with this curse staff and one guy with, like, a quarter staff, maybe. And then you stun lock them in there, and then you get this big damage, especially that the mage one, the first one, the cloth armor one, seemed like it did a lot of damage. But it really depends how much damage this thing's actually doing. Like, obviously in these like things that they're showing us, they're probably 0 spec, or they're like really low spec, and they're not doing a lot of damage. But I think if this thing does a lot of damage, it can definitely be used in twos for like little combos like that.
Depending on what target you cast it on. There's a lot of skill expression with this ability and a lot of knowledge how you can make the best out of these shadows you have available.
So one thing he did say is that you could cast it on an ally, so that does open up a lot of possibilities for how you can use this. So like I said, if you use some sort of stun build, you can run up to them, stun them, and then your teammate can cast that thing on you real quick to do a ton of damage very quickly. But we'll see how that works out. That one I give 7 out of 10. 7 out of 10.
And then we also have the Abilonian spear, which is a one-handed lance. This has an ability where you can charge into enemy lines, and after a short cast time, you charge in and become unstoppable during this charge, meaning no CC or anything can interrupt you, you just charge through, and additionally, any enemy you hit, you will purge their buffs. So you can use it either or offensively, to like try to secure a kill and remove the defensives of that target. Or you can also use it to initiate a counter engage to remove the momentum from the enemies, removing their active buffs when they try to commit to your side.
So I like this one. It looks cool. It looks very cool and it's very interesting. It's definitely like a new mechanic in Albion. But is it going to be strong? It doesn't seem like it's going to be that strong. Like, sure, it purges, but unless it does massive, massive damage, it's just not going to be worth it. It's going to be so easy to avoid. It seems like it's very slow. So far, we give this a 3 out of 10.
Ability, and it makes a big difference how you use it. And another cool thing about it, the lance is a one-handed weapon, so that means you can combine it with various offhand combinations. In general, 1/3 of the Abilonian weapons are one-handed, to allow for more interesting combinations with offense, even on the high-end artifact items. The Abilonian Nature Staff gets an ability called Soul Link, where you can link 2 targets together, and depending on what kinds of target you choose, you get a different effect. So what does that mean? That means that if you target 2 allies, then this means they get an effect where all the damage they receive is shared evenly across both targets. And on top of that, all healing they received is also shared evenly and also amplified a bit. So if you have hot active on both targets, then both heal each other and it's even amplified, so you have a higher healing output.
So I'm going to let him finish, but so far, that doesn't seem very good for an E, right? Like, your healing gets slightly amplified and they share damage between each other and healing between each other, but isn't it better just to heal them, like with a big E or something? We'll see what he says about the other combinations.
Or if you cast it on an enemy and an ally, then in this case, the healing received for the enemy, a chunk of that is always stolen and directly transferred to the ally. So you can absorb some of the healing this enemy receives and heal up your own ally. Then the last combination is if you cast it on 2 enemies. In this case, they also share the damage received, but also the damage is amplified. So you can use it offensively when you try to break through the enemy defenses. You can cast it on a cloth user and a tank. And then even if you attack the tank, then a lot of the damage is sent over to the cloth user as well. So there's a lot of ways how to use it.
Okay. He brought it back for me. That last ability, oh man, I'm just trying to think of like how I can double one-shot somebody. So like my healer goes and puts it on both enemies in the 2v2 Hellgate, and then I go and like just actually like hit the other person as hard as I can, try to like one-shot them and have that one-shot damage also transfer. That would be really cool. I'm definitely gonna try that one out, but now it seems okay. Double allies was like, but double enemies. That's where it's at. I want to combo that so bad, man.
We imagine it's gonna be more relevant in small scale, but we're really excited and would like to see how you guys can make the best out of it. But keep in mind with all these abilities we've shown you today, they're still in testing and production, so some of the final behavior might be different when they hit the live server. But I think we can give you in general a good idea what direction we are going in and what of the kind of cool mechanics we are right now testing and what you can expect from the next update. But let's talk about how you can obtain these new items in the game. They are pretty similar to the Abilonian armors in terms of crafting. So there is Abilonian new artifacts that you need to craft them, and these artifacts can be obtained from Abilonians, and they can also be created from Abilonian shards. However, with our new update, Rise of Avalon, we also will increase the amount of Abilonian shards in the world to make these weapons not too rare and to have more players use them. And on top of that, as a side note, you also can obtain Abilonian shards in the new Roads of Avalon, where you also can fight Avalonians, and there's a nice incentive to explore these roads and also have the chance to get the ingredients for the new Avalonian weapons in there.
Cool. No, I like this. So, yeah, that was one thing I was a little concerned about, was just getting the shards, right? Because right now, the only way to get shards is doing an Avalonian dungeon. And I don't know if you guys have done that, but, well, I'm not really a PvEer, so maybe that's why I don't like it, but I don't really like the Avalonian dungeons. But if there's like these little areas you can fight as like a solo or a duo, this is going to be great. You know, going down the roads of Avalon and grabbing shards and stuff from these little like outposts that they have. This is really cool. I really like this. So I'm really glad they're doing this. Because I do not want to be running Avalonian dungeons all day to try to get my hands on these new weapons.
So the crafting side is rather straightforward with these weapons. But we are also planning to make a big change for the Destiny board for the first time. So far, all the combat specializations for artifacts have been always concentrated into one node. So for example, swords have one node that's called a sword artifact specialization. And whenever you use any artifact, you level up these nodes. With the next update, we want to split this one node into one node per weapon. So this means there's a node for
awesome.
Clarent Blade, one node for Carving Sword, and one node for Galatine Pair. So don't worry, you keep your progress. So all the progress you had for the combined artifact node is taken out and divided evenly across the new nodes. So for instance, and because these
that's really interesting. So I get a lot of noobs that come to ask me, and they say, hey, how do I level up Death Givers? Because when they look at the nodes, it only shows Artifact Dagger, and it's a picture of a Bloodletter. So they're like, how do I level up Death Givers? I don't understand. So this will be a little bit easier for noobs to understand. Also, this makes fame farming not as like tedious, because when say you have no interest in using Black Hands, right? You still have to level up the Black Hands. Say you have no interest in using a Whispering Bow, but you want to use a Bow of Badon, an actual good weapon. You still have to level up all of them together. So this is really good, especially for those artifact weapons that aren't really used ever, that you can just don't even have to level them up, or you can level them up separately just to get more spec. But at the same time, this is very good for the game, I think, and yeah, it's gonna be dope.
Combined nodes had 3 times the fame requirements. This means if you had your artifact specialization for swords on level 100, this means that on the next content update you will have Clarent Blade, Carving Sword, and Galatine Pair also on level 100. You will also get a new node for specializations. That's for the Abilonian weapon called the Kingmaker. This one will be at 0 because it's new and you have to level it from the scratch. We are also releasing a bunch of combat balance changes. So one change we have been hinting at the past is there's already this new Arcane Staff W spell called Mimic. So the way it works is you can cast it on any player, and depending on the weapon type he has, you get a different ability. Say you see anyone with a fire staff, independent of what W spell this player has selected, when you cast it on him, you know on a fire staff you always get the firewall. And then you can use a firewall. Or if you see someone with an holy staff, you know you always get an holy orb. So it's independent of what the player has actually equipped to make it easier to use and more reliable on what what spells you can get with it. And another.
So I don't think Mimic is going to be very strong. I mean, I think you can also cast it on an ally. So maybe there's some cool thing where, hey, if an Arcane Staff just happened to have this new W, then it would be so good, right? But other than that, I mean, it seems bad, right? Because you have to rely on your opponent having something that's useful to you. And, I mean, again, if you can cast it on your ally, it might be okay-ish. But I really don't see this Mimic ability being a thing in the game. Like, maybe I'm wrong. Maybe it's, like, the most broken thing ever, but I just don't think so. I don't think Mimic's going to be very good.
The big focus for this balance patch will be the 1v1 meta, where we are making various adjustments to make sure that the 1v1 meta is in a more healthy state, because it had a bit of a backseat so far. So the typical contenders are like solo healers shouldn't be as sustainable as they are right now.
Thank you.
We are also looking at warbow kiting. How strong is it? We're probably reducing it a bit. And
what?
Also some
What? Christmas came early, boys! Oh my god!
Flyer items, like for instance, Cultist Robe. We are also looking at it to make it less of a hard counter to certain builds. In general, we want to reduce hard counters and have more soft counters.
I'm so happy, boys.
To have it less rock, paper, scissors, especially in a 1v1 meta. And the reason why we are having a look at the 1v1 meta for the next update is, of course, our next also big
Corrupted
Dungeons.
Another
feature called the Corrupted Dungeons, where you can go in and fight other players, and the PvP scenarios are always max 1v1. But we will go into more detail in another dev talk. So for this dev talk, just know that we are already looking also at the meta adjustments to make this feature really shine.
Okay, thank you. I'm going to stop complaining about warbow. I'm just going to play this
that's
clip.
all for today. Thanks a lot for tuning in.
Wait.
And I hope to see you guys in another Albion Online.
What? Okay, first off, they didn't show all the weapons, but I noticed when you went to this crafting, it did show some of the weapons.
Oh, you can obtain these new items.
All right, so let's go. Okay, right. Oh, wait, let them scroll. Okay, so right here, you can see this is the Abilonian hammer. We can't really see what it does, but, I mean, this is it. Oh, you can't see because of my big-ass head. All right, hold on. All right, so you got the Abilonian hammer down here, right? So this thing's nice. I mean, it looks cool, I guess. Not really much to say. But I think there is something to say here. Dual maces? This looks really cool. I mean, maybe it'll be good, maybe not. But, I mean, either way, it looks cool, right? 2 maces in your hands. And if it's anything like the one-handed mace, it's going to be really good. But you don't get an offhand. So we'll have to see how these actually play out. This looks like a 2-handed hammer as well. Well, it says it right here, 2H hammer. So it's definitely 2H hammer. And then right down here, you can see it says 2H crossbow, the cannon. But we've already seen that. So, yeah, guys, that'll do it for this video. Thank you for watching. Make sure you like the video and comment down below what you guys think. I think this stuff is amazing. Everything that they said in this patch is going to be awesome, other than Mimic. Mimic's going to be It's going to be poo-poo. But, oh my god, I got so excited when he said warbow kiting is going to be addressed. I'm ecstatic. I don't know what else to say. If you guys have ever tuned into my stream, you know I don't like the warbow too much. Especially, it's just the frost shot, mainly. Anything else about the warbow is fine. Just the frost shot is a little upsetting. But anyway, guys, thank you for watching. Stay soft. I'll see you in the next one.